Good morning, Tempo fans and Raptor fans. Lexiot's here Sunday morning, and we're doing a reaction to the WNBA All Star Game last night in Chicago, where Marina Mabrey made her first ever All Star appearance and was the first ever Toronto Tempo player to play in the WNBA All Star Game. It was a great game. I enjoyed the game. I thought that all-star games can be a problematic thing sometimes, where it's not really competition and it's kind of just not it looks like garbage. Like the NBA has done a really bad job with their all-star games. Let's just put it that way in recent years. And well, the WNBA, for some reason, and I have a couple of theories why this is true. The WNBA had a good game, even if it wasn't the highest competition, and it was similar to the NBA game in a couple of ways. Like I have theories on why that is. First of all, I think part of it is all right, well, let's break down the game first. At the beginning of the game, right away, Caitlin Clark just started bombing inside the half court logo threes, and she was successful. This is the thing. It's one thing for these guys to come out in the NBA game and just start bombing them, and they're like not hitting them because there's a lot of that. I think that's the thing that annoys people is if the NBA is the best men's professional league in the world, then why do they look so bad when they're playing in an exhibition where nobody's trying? Because they're missing and there's just all kinds of stupid stuff. But with the WNBA game, I'd say, all that extra stuff and the shooting like that, logo threes by Caitlin, the way Marina was playing, that they're making their shots more often than not. So it makes more sense. It's just the NBA looks bad because they miss so much and they're messing around and they're just being goofy. There was a certain level of competition in the WNBA All Star game last night, and there was also some novelty to it. And that's the thing, too, that the WNBA has over the NBA. The NBA has been doing All Star games for a long, long, long time, over 30 years. And the WNBA has been doing them on and off for 30 years. Well, the NBA has probably seen it and done it all as far as what can be done in an all-star game. But the WNBA has not seen it and done it all. There's new stuff that can happen at WNBA games that make them exciting and interesting. Like the first time ever in a WNBA all-star game last night, somebody dunked in the game. And it was funny because at that moment, I'd seen that they tried to set up alley-oop for Dominique Malonga of the Seattle Storm a couple minutes before, and I was thinking to myself, why doesn't one of the women of the WNBA dunk in this game? That would make this cool. And then, like a couple seconds later, she went and dunked. I was like, "Oh, wait, she did." I was like, "That's cool." I was like, "Why wouldn't somebody in the WNBA All Star Game try and dunk the ball?" There's been a few dunks in the league history. They showed a highlight reel after Dominique hit her dunk of dunks in the WNBA's history, Brittany Griner and different people like that. And it was cool to see, but it was even cooler to see that dunk in the middle of the game. That got me really into it. Like I could see an evolution in the WNBA All-Star game where we get a couple players that can dunk and we have a little bit of a mini dunk off in a game in the evolution of this. Malonga, well, she can get up there and she can dunk. It didn't seem like it was that hard for her. I wonder about this. Like, I feel like the WNBA could get to the next level if they do get to a point where dunking is normal and it happens often. Some people would maybe like, nah, it's going to ruin the league. We don't want that. It's showing up or something like, no, listen, that is a huge attraction for people to come and watch the games. It's part of the reason why the NBA is so much fun to watch. If the WNBA normalizes more and more dunking over time in the evolution of basketball, women's basketball, that would be good. That would be good. Because like Malonga's dunk is a highlight of that game last night. And it really I was just thinking, like, to myself, I was like, "Man, it'd be cool if one of them dunked," and then she did. She did it right after I thought that. I was like, "Wait a second, she did just dunk." That's pretty cool. Yeah, the game was fun. I think that part of it is also the WNBA, players have a lot of friendship bonds across teams, and there's a lot of love that's shared on that court at the All-Star Game. There's a lot of love. You can feel it. You can camaraderie and jokes and fun. Man, sure, there's a few feuds and people that don't really like each other, and you can probably feel it to a degree. But also at the same time, you could see some of that put to rest as players that are normally going against each other are teammates all of a sudden. The energy between Marina and Angel Reese was interesting last night to me. We've had some pretty intense battles with the Atlanta Dream this year, and Isabel Harrison and Angel Reese kind of stuff was a lot of drama. But Marina was not frozen out by her teammates for that first half, which was really cool. That was the whole thing. Trevor said yesterday, I want to see Marina go for 50 and get MVP. Well, I didn't think it would be realistic because I didn't know how popular Mabry was with the other All Stars. Because that's what you need is you need your teammates if you're going to go for a big number. And in the first half, well, Marina didn't start, but she got in at about 6 minutes in, and she was the focal point of the second unit. That's for sure. They were feeding her the ball, and she was hitting them shots. And in fact, she was rivaling Caitlin Clark in the first half for proficiency in making points. In fact, she had the most points of any of the players on the court by halftime. And that was cool to see. I was so proud of her, and she was not shy to shoot. And well, they were even feeding her to a degree. I had not realized that Paige Beckers, before the game, had said that one of her goals was to try and get Marina the MVP, to really feed her and set her up. Because, it's funny too. If you noticed watching the All Star game last night, the biggest pops for people were for Asia Wilson and Marina Mabrey and Caitlin Clark, of course, too, and Angel. They were like the four biggest pops, the biggest, loudest ovations from the crowd. Marina got a lot of cheers. Like you could tell she's very popular at the WNBA All Star Game because there were a lot of people cheering for her, and every time she made a shot, there was an ovation, and there was a lot of people going crazy. So it was cool. They wanted to see Chef Mabry cook. They wanted to see her get a big number and take those shots. And so did her teammates in the first half. It was awesome. Like I knew maybe she had us a chance to do something special when I saw Angel Reese setting her up for an assist and letting her take a shot out for her. I was like, okay, Angel's setting her up. This is something different. This is something different. Maybe Marina does have a shot at MVP or leading scorer for the game, even. But alas, it was a tale of two halves once again. And it's similar to the tempo in their season recently, where the first half is a very high level half, and then the second half disappear. Unfortunately, Marina's shot was not dropping in the third quarter, and the rest of the team kind of went away from her at that point. Also, her team was pretty much behind most of the whole game. Team Coop could not keep up with Team Spoon, and Team Spoon had a good margin of lead ahead. And part of that was Clark. Clark was very adamant about in the interviews during the game not letting Team Cynthia Cooper come back and close the gap and make it competitive. So it's a very concerted effort by a very competitive young woman who plays for the Indiana Fever, who is holding her teammates accountable for, we need to keep this lead. When I come out of the game, Courtney Williams, you better keep the lead. Yeah. So there, that was part of the problem too. It's like they don't normally give an MVP to a player on the losing team. They have to be, oh my gosh, so good individually to get an MVP on a losing side. So there was a couple of things that needed to be tied up in the second half to really seal the deal for Marina Mabrey on an MVP. And well, both of them didn't get checked. It's unfortunate. Yeah, and that's not wrong for what they did. You got to go to Marina, but if she's misses like 3 shots in a row, then they really do have to pivot to somebody else and start feeding somebody else and give other people chances like Sonia Citron and Paige Beckers. So but she looked real good. She made us look real, real good. She must have done good because ESPN gave her an A for her all-star appearance. And we know how ESPN is towards us up here. But yeah, it looked like she had a lot of fun. Like in some ways, there's somebody who wrote a Reddit post about Marina's All Star Weekend and just how fantastic and amazing it's been. Because it really has. It really has. It's been a real celebration. She's had a lot of joy. She's gotten funds raised for a good cause. She's done all kinds of fantastic things, like with her family there, and gotten that rite of passage to become an all star. And she fit. She fit. It's just like we said before the all star voting was done. She is the epitome of what an all star is, because she can get out there and electrify the crowd with a barrage of shots and making really cool shots and long shots and pop the crowd. And people want to see it. They come there. She's an attraction. That's the thing. If people want to buy a ticket to come see you, you're an all-star. And Marina Mabrey is that for the Toronto Tempo. So yeah, she opened up this history for a franchise, an all-star weekend, in a very, very, very I would say strong way. And I appreciate her for it. We could have expected anything. It could have been a thing where she got out there for 5 minutes, didn't play, didn't make a shot, and was just happy to be there. But that was not the case. She was definitely a strong candidate for possibly being most valuable player. I feel like something pivoted though. Like, it was weird. The first half was so good for her, and they were really feeding her, and they really were trying to get her. At halftime, Monica McNutt and Malika Andrews and them in the halftime show were starting to pick her for MVP. Like Monica said, I was picking Marina already. I think Marina's going to get it. And they were talking about it so much. But then if you noticed in the second half, all the Marina for MVP talk died down very quickly. And things started to pivot towards looking at other people like Caitlin and Jonquel Jones, who eventually did win the MVP. Yeah, I think there's something real fishy about the propping up of the New York teams in the last year. It's not a coincidence to me in some ways that New York Knicks won both the in-season tournament and the championship last year, and the Liberty won the Commissioner's Cup, and Jonquel Jones has gotten MVP for every single type of thing she can get in the WNBA now, as far as a Finals MVP, the Commissioner's Cup MVP, an All-Star MVP. And I forget what the other one is. There's like 4 MVPs she's collected that you can get while you're in the WNBA. That's annoying. That's annoying. I feel like there's a little bit of a rah, 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 New York. We're going to help New York win everything this year going on right now. And it's annoying. It's annoying. Jonquel is a great young woman. I have no problem with her. It was very touching that she didn't go to a funeral for her aunt to come to All-Star Weekend and do this, and dedicated the MVP to her aunt that just passed away. But yeah, it's fishy to me. It's fishy to me. In some ways, storylines can be written, and it could very well be that Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA and Adam Silver saw a storyline being written for Marina Mabrey, and they weren't necessarily into it. So it's like, cue the broadcasters and tell them, get off that tip and stop talking up Mabrey and focus on some other people, because they were building a lot of energy towards a Marina Mabrey MVP in the first half. Very much so. Yeah, it was a fun game. Like, the differences between the NBA and the WNBA All-Star Game are the fun is evident. They want to be there. That's the difference. I think that's the main difference right there. The NBA players don't want to be there. You can feel it. You can tell it. Those WNBA players, though, want to be there, and they have fun. And it's fun to watch them. Meanwhile, those NBA guys are like, this is a drag. You can tell Nikola Jokic, when he's at the NBA All-Star Game, how just unimpressed with everything he is. You can tell. Luka shows as much respect to that All-Star Game with all his goofy shenanigans too, where it just makes it a joke. There's a difference between Caitlin Clark's mindset about it and what these guys in the NBA, these jokers, have been putting forth in these games these past couple of years for the NBA All-Star Game. Caitlin Clark says straight up, we're supposed to give a show to the fans in this All-Star Game and entertain them. So what do they want? They want Caitlin Clark logo threes. They want Dominique Malonga to throw a dunk. They want Marina Mabrey to get put on the chef's hat and put on a show too. That's what they want. They want stuff like that. They want Olivia Miles out there showing her amazing passing skills and her motor and the way she plays. That's what they want. The NBA guys don't get it. The NBA guys don't get it. It's entertainment. You're supposed to do it for the fans. You're supposed to make it fun. You're supposed to enjoy being here. They don't get it because that's the biggest problem right there. They could care less. They're jaded. They make so much money. They'd rather be on a beach than at the All-Star weekend at this point. That's what the problem is. I've pinpointed it. I figured it out because watching the WNBA, and it's not really different than the NBA as far as the output and the competition and how hard they're playing. It's just that it's how much their heart is into it. And that's the difference. We figured this out. I think I figured this out. It is true that, the WNBA is at a brand new opening to a new era of growth and new eyes and all kinds of good things happening. And there's going to be some enthusiasm and excitement and buzz because of the new eyes, like Tempo fans like me coming in to watch them now, and other people in the expansion of the scope of the league. And that does add an extra element of excitement that changes it from, the NBA's stale product at All-Star. It's just the same thing over and over again. Yeah, I think it was a fantastic game. In fact, I really think that the WNBA All-Star Weekend is something that could teach the NBA All-Star Weekend some things. Yeah, yeah, because I thought that all 3 events for this weekend were all very good. They were all very good. The game was good. The game was entertaining. It was, it had some of the same elements of the NBA All-Star Game, but it didn't matter because the joy and the love was there. The three-point shootout was fun. The shooting stars competition was interesting too. It was good. So yeah, really good job all weekend. I can be a critic, obviously, because I do criticize like all kinds of things around basketball all the time. I'm going to give a really good mark to this WNBA All-Star Weekend. The first one I really paid attention to heavy. It was it was an entertaining thing. And you know what? In some ways, the brevity and the shortness of certain things like the Friday night and the very quick kind of broadcast and not all dragged out with a lot of commercials and car commercial and this and this and this. It actually makes it better because it kind of makes you leaving you wanting more. It seems like the NBA All-Star Weekend has so much programming that you get fatigued because there's so much to watch, whether it's the Saturday night that's like 8 hours long, whether it's the All-Star game, which it should only be about 2 hours, gets dragged out to almost 4 hours with all the extra stuff, like the halftime show and everything like that. I think it's interesting to think about this in comparison because there really truly are some of the answers to fixing the NBA's All-Star game from the WNBA's All-Star game. Yeah. All right. Let me check in with you guys this morning, just a little bit off the top about what I felt about last night. And I'm really proud of Marina. I really am. Let's go, Marina Mabrey. That's right. You did really good. I mean, she got how many points? She got 23 points in 21 minutes on 9 of 21 shooting. See, that's the problem. She was over 50% in the first half, but then she missed too many shots in the second half. And, she got all 23 of those points, I think, mostly in the first half, right? I don't think she scored in the second half. And she was 9 of 16 at halftime. So she took 5 shots in the second half and missed all 5 of them. And then they went away from her. And you can't blame that's normal basketball stuff. That's normal basketball stuff. You lose your hot hand, they keep going to you, but you keep missing. Well, they're going to go away from you. And that's just how it is. She was 5 for 14 from 3-point range. She was definitely the person that took the most threes. Oh, wait, Caitlin took one more 3 than her. She was 5 of 15, and Marina was 5 of 14. So, in some ways, we look at this as a win. She outdueled Caitlin Clark, outscored her from the other side. So, yeah, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and a steal for Marina also. Early in the game, Marina was playing defense before anybody else. You saw her being sneaky and kind of like sneaking over and getting little steals here and there, or like interfering with passes. Yeah, so she started playing defense a little earlier than everybody else, but they did start to play a bit more defense in the second half, but not really totally either. And it was nice to see Team Coop catch up a bit because the margin got pretty wide at halftime in the middle of the game, and that's no good. In some ways, that's another problem with All-Star games is when it's really lopsided and one team is just beating the other team. It's boring. People turn off it. It's good to have a competitive game where the score is close and people are watching it to see who actually wins. But when it seems like, yeah, we know who's going to win because they are already up by 16 at halftime and they're kind of running things for the whole game, that makes it a little bit more uh, hard to watch because it's not if there's no competition, then it's kind of like, okay, that takes a whole aspect of why people would get into it, right? Right. But yeah, 129 to 122, Team Witherspoon over Team Cooper. Yeah, it was a fun game, and the coaches were definitely into it. Very competitive. Becky Hammond was not competitive though. She was laughing and smiling and showing that she could just have a good time. Not really caring about the game. It's like this isn't serious, so don't make me be regular Becky Hammond, which is a cutthroat competitor who was really, really serious. But no, Becky had to show the fun and lighthearted side, sitting next to Cynthia Cooper and just kind of like palling around and laughing and saying, "Yeah, I can't take this seriously. I'm sorry, it's an all-star game." Yeah, that's good. I like to see Becky having fun instead of being so serious all the time. Like she's ready to punch somebody. Yeah, Trevor J. Good morning to you, Commissioner of Fun, Trevor J. Thank you for being here this morning, this Sunday. In his words of wisdom, he's saying we're very thankful for so many things in our life, but we're most thankful for God. Without Him, we wouldn't have nothing else to be thankful for. Yeah, yeah, a basic gratefulness towards the creator above, the creator of nature and life and us and plants and trees is a really good basis to start every single day for sure. So wake up and thank God for another day, another breath, another sunshiny day, hopefully, and just good things in your life. Blessings to the Jones family and all the Raptor Freak families. That's right. Yeah. Trevor's saying it was the Mabrey show in the first half. It was. And I was shocked. I was starting to get to the point, Trevor, where I was like, man, I'm going to have to apologize to Trevor for saying it was crazy for him to think that Marina could get 50 points in the WNBA All Star Game. It's like, first of all, I was thinking, who would feed her? Who likes her? Who's going to want to give her the ball like that? Well, they did, which was crazy. And it was kind of cool. In some ways, it was a smart strategy because Witherspoon's team jumped out on Cooper's team with Caitlin Clark with that barrage, and we had to make up some gaps. And Marina did it. Marina came in off the bench, and she caught the team up to the other team a couple times in the first half. But alas, the team Witherspoon kept running away on top of it. But that was a smart strategy. So in some ways, it made sense to feed Marina because we know she gets scores in bushels, like a whole group of scores. And maybe Becky Hammond and Cynthia Cooper were thinking that it's like, let's employ Marina Mabrey to be a barrage shooter, and hopefully she can close this gap that they already have on us from Caitlin's logo threes. And I think that was a smart strategy because she will score a lot fast. Yeah, it was definitely her show in the first. Unfortunately, the second, she was not in the act. She was not a part of the show in the second act, really. Let's see. Trevor's saying this. She could have won the MVP if they left her in the game last night. I looked at the minutes because the minutes are what are very interesting about all-star games because it's sometimes you'll see a starter like on the other side, you know, Leah Boston only played 5 minutes as a starter, but that's probably because the coach, Stephanie White of the Indiana Fever, was probably like, I don't want you playing her. She's on the down low hurt and she's a little tired right now. Because there's a lot of that kind of talk to the all-star coaches. It's like coaches of the teams that the players play for can request that their players do not play a whole lot. And maybe they're on a minutes restriction. Or maybe it's just like, yeah, put them in for a second, but yeah, they shouldn't really be out there for too long. And that definitely happened to Boston last night on the other team. Now, if you look at the roster for Team Coop and Marina Mabrey's team, all the starters got over 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, with Brianna Stewart playing the most at 28 minutes. And only one person off the bench got 21 minutes, and that's Marina Mabrey. So she was like the sixth woman on this team, and she got almost starters minutes compared to them. Kelsey Mitchell, who led Team Cooper, with 28 points, only had 22 minutes, just one more minute than Marina, but 5 more points than her. So in some ways, she was the leading scorer for Team Coop by the end of the game because Kelsey was doing stuff in the second half that caught her up and surpassed Marina Mabrey. She also had 5 steals. So yeah, big game for Kelsey Mitchell of the Fever. Yeah. I don't know, Trevor. In some ways, it's like, look, we should be very grateful that Marina got the shine and the opportunities in the first half. She got the opportunities in the second half, but she missed. So she went away from it. And that's totally fair. That's totally fair. If Marina had been hitting in the second half, they probably would have continued with her and she would have had that chance. But Marina missed like 5 shots in a row and they had to go away from her. And that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how it is. Trevor J saying that attendance record for the WNBA All Star Game last night, 19,783. This is fantastic. I know you were commenting on the Friday night not being as attended, but it was pretty good attended for Friday night. And last night was attended very well for Chicago at the United Center for the All Star Game. And well, this is not as big a crowd as the one that Fiercey sat in Montreal when the Wings played the Tempo this past month. But this is the biggest crowd for an All-Star game ever for the WNBA. That's fantastic. Now, hey, listen, what if we had the All-Star game at Bell Center in Montreal, even if it's not Toronto exactly, and you guys broke the record again there because of the record we just broke in Montreal recently. Yeah, this is a good thing. It's a good thing. This sport is growing. And, this is a real sign, seriously, because, I think that the WNBA's All-Star Game has a weird history of not really being paid attention to it different ways, whether it's not being paid attention to by people watching it on TV or being attending to it. So this is a good sign that the growth and things are going the right direction for the league. Really, really good sign. Fiercey's here. Good morning to MJ. Good morning, fam, and happy Sunday. Enjoying the stream as I will probably miss it for 9 days due to an upcoming trip. Leaving on Wednesday, I need the rest. Oh, this is awesome. Well, it is the summertime. This is an excellent time to go on vacation and go and explore the world. Go to do some fun stuff. So you're going on a cruise? It looks like you might be going on a cruise, Fiercey. I see that boat there, the little emoticon boat. Well, we're gonna miss you in the stream, but I know that you'll check back with us when you get back, or maybe even check in with us possibly while you're out, just for a second. Say, hey fam, how's it going? That'd be awesome. So yeah, Fiercey, we love you and we want you to travel safe and you enjoy this relaxing R&R on your vacation coming up. Yeah, this is very cool. Very cool. You're gonna have to tell us all about it when you get back. Fiercely saying this, Marina represented us so well at the game and also at the press conference. So proud of her and love the energy of the event yesterday. You know what the thing I like about Marina the most, I think, is that she's very comfortable being her awkward self. Because in some ways, she is an awkward person. I mean, I can recognize the awkwardness in her, just like I have awkwardness in myself. And I see her as a person like me because we have awkwardness. And she's unquestionably herself, and no excuses. And in some ways, she's made her personality and who she is fit into different places so that she can be, in the right kind of frame of mind or way to talk to whatever is going on. And this weekend's a great place for her to work on that. There's a lot of media, there's a lot of spotlight, and there's a lot of chances for her to put herself out there and her brand. And well, I think she did a really good job. She did a really good job. Let's go do the Tempo Redditor of the day real quick, which is Kerfuffles 80, of course. Marina Mabrey on donating to Toronto's Black Women's Institute for Health. This is what she said. It's a Chelsea Light quote, actually. Got to ask Marina Mabrey tonight why it was important to her and Under Armour to make donation to Toronto's Black Women's Institute for Health during her three-point shooting contest participation. She said, playing basketball, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of this league is made up of Black women. And I listen and I am aware and I hear a lot of things that go on. And I think that they do not have the same access to healthcare that we have. And it's not fair. I think that if I can do something to be an advocate for some of my closest friends and the people that I work with that built this league, that's kind of where I want to put my money. I know that it's not like a huge donation because I was not making them, but I hope that it's a step in the right direction, that people kind of have an awareness and they pay attention to it so that more people can focus on the health of Black women as well when it is as it relates to their health. Yeah. So playing back hang on, let me read it. Did I read that part already? Okay, yeah, that's it basically. That's her statement on it. So, yeah, it's really good that she's bringing awareness to this cause. And fantastic job raising $6,500 for this cause also. So yeah, that's your Toronto Tempo Redder of the Day, kerfuffles, with the statement from Marina on the charity that she played for in the 3-point shootout. So yeah, very, very cool stuff right there. Yeah, very cool. Fiercely saying this, Caitlin Clark and Coach Cheryl Reeves working together was a nice watch. I enjoyed watching Caitlin with Olivia Miles. There was definitely a chemistry there. In some ways, the All-Star game is a dangerous place because you can kind of test out synergy with different stars of the league. And I'll bet you money that Caitlin Clark and Olivia Miles would love to play on the same team together. I'll bet you money that that is one of the outcomes from yesterday because they really did have a weird synergy. I think that Olivia really wanted to play with her, and Caitlin was very much enjoying playing with Olivia. So that's something we find out there. I guess they squashed the beef in reference to Coach Reeves not having her on Team USA caused drama a few years ago. I think that that whole drama, and I kind of remember it, was basically that Caitlin's too young and she was not really a full-fledged star to be included on Team USA. I think that that was a byproduct of the overinflation of Clark by her fan nation at that time, that in some ways she had not done enough in her career to really establish herself and be uh, properly ready for a Team USA spot with the team that they have, with the players like Asia Wilson and the kind of people and the credentials and the time they've had. And that's why I think that everybody just thought instantly, because she's a star, she should just get on Team USA. So the decision by Team USA at that time was right. It's just that, there's a rabid Caitlin Clark fan base that thinks everything should just be handed to her right now. And well, that's not how it works. In some ways, when that time she was a very young player. In fact, I think she was still almost a rookie, right? So, I mean, I understand why that decision was made. And if people were upset about that, I don't even know if Caitlin was upset about that. It was probably more that Caitlin Clark people were upset because Caitlin probably understood that, like, this is the thing. The thing about Caitlin, I think that people don't realize, is the buzz and the people that stand up for her or fight for her nation, are not her. In fact, often they have really crazy ideas and things that they think that she is not on board with. And I think I'll bet you money that she had no problem not getting on the USA team. Maybe I'm completely wrong because I don't know this story correctly. But she understood that it's like, yeah, I have to put in more years. I have to be in the WNBA for a few years and maybe get some accolades, maybe win a championship. And then maybe I'll be more strongly considered for Team USA. This is a big deal. They win, just like the US in men's basketball. They went to France and got the gold too. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And you gotta earn your stripes. You can't just come in like willy-nilly and get handed to you. You gotta earn your stripes. And in some ways, that's the thing people forget about with Caitlin. In some ways, she hasn't done a whole lot in the WNBA completely yet. You know, I feel like that's what it is. Infamous is here. Good morning to Infamous. Salute, freaks. I have to be very honest. I tried, but the game was unwatchable. Respect to Eminem for representing us well. See, I didn't see that at all. I saw it was fun. I thought that, the way that Caitlin shot it and made them right away established a making kind of game. It's different if like they come out and miss like the first 10 shots and it just looks unprofessional. No, I think that the shooting percentages of both teams in the first half, especially Caitlin and Marina, made the game legit. Like, because that's the thing. You could have a bunch of people out there playing basketball, and if people are missing shots, it'll look like your friends and you on the blacktop just down the street and just playing pickup basketball. These are pros. You want to see them be excellent and make shots and do excellent things, things that most people can't do. And Caitlin right away did that. Like those logo threes hooked me right away. I'm like, whoa, she's living up to the hype and she's giving people a show right away. So it's like all about that. And then when Marina got in and she started doing stuff, I was like, whoa, is this going to be a Caitlin versus Marina thing? So the intrigue was high for me, Infamous, and it hooked me. And then there was the whole thing about Malonga getting the dunk, which really surprised me and was like, whoa, there's another fun thing that happened. So I'm totally unlike you. This was very watchable. It was very entertaining. And I found that, even though the looseness of an all-star game was there was enough professional elite talent showing their skills that it made it above like just watching 10 college players from women's basketball playing out there or something like that. There was something to this. I mean, the talent of Olivia Miles is undeniable. The talent of Caitlin Clark is undeniable. The talent of Marina Mabrey is undeniable. And that's the stuff that made it very watchable for me. And maybe sometimes in the second half things got a little disintegrated, and they did try to play defense for a little bit there. And because the margin wasn't too close, it got a little bit. But overall, the game was very entertaining and moved along really well, at least to me. At least to me, and I enjoyed watching it. I really did. I had really had a hard time watching the NBA All Star Game the last couple of years, but I had no problem watching this game last night. But we can have different perceptions of it here. Fiercely saying, however, no defense at all, mostly three-pointer shot, no competition. I'll disagree with that too. I mean, the one thing I will say is I don't believe that Becky Hammon and Cynthia Cooper put out the right team at the end of the game to try and win the game to come back against Team Spoon. And one of the big mistakes they had was putting the ball in Gabby Williams' hands so much at the end of the game. Gabby Williams was jacking up these crazy threes in the fourth quarter that she shouldn't be doing. She didn't make any of them. And I'm like, why is she out there shooting those? That was the time where I was like, you know what? Maybe Marina needs to be out there right now for y'all to try and get you the last little bit right at the end to make the last push to try and get the win for Team Coop. And the personnel that was out on the court for Becky Hammond's side was not the right personnel. It could very well be they weren't worried about winning the game, and they were more worried about getting the right amount of minutes for each person in the right places. Because I didn't agree with that. I felt like Gabby Williams was a waste at the end of the game as far as what she was trying to do. She was the wrong person and the wrong personnel to be jacking up crazy ass threes at the end of the game. In fact, she was 4 for 13 overall in the game. But yeah, I didn't agree with that part of things. If I would have had things, I would have had Mabrey out there with Kelsey Mitchell instead, and having them be a 2-1-2 punch in what they were doing. But yeah, I felt like defense was played at spots here and there. We had some interesting stuff. There was a challenge. There was a couple that I think that was the first time there's ever been a challenge in a WNBA game. And of course, it revolved around Asia Wilson, and it was unsuccessful. Roy Gbn. Yeah. I mean, you could tell that wasn't going to be a successful challenge because it was definitely off Wilson, and them trying to say she got fouled on that out of bounds play was totally wrong. She was not fouled. She bumbled the ball and just dropped and lost it out of bounds, but she tried to lie and act like she did. She was being funny in the beginning of the game too, in the pre-game interview, saying that she's fueled by her haters and she's just coming out there to live her best life and to piss them off. But yeah, she tried to act like that ball was she got fouled, but she didn't. They went and looked at the replay, and she was like no, and she's acting like she's all mad, but she was joking. She knew that she wasn't fouled, and she was lying. No credibility there, no credibility there. That's right. Fiercely saying, Infamous, can you expand, please, on why you think it was unwatchable? Yeah, I'd be curious to hear kind of some of his opinions on that. That'd be cool. Fiercely saying, Jonquel Jones made a statement that was overheard on the Studbud stream about Lynx deserving the chip more than the Liberty, and apologized for it yesterday. Oh, that's what was said that got in trouble. She got in trouble for. Well, I would agree with her. I would agree with her. The Liberty have had a tough year. The Liberty have had a tough year, and in some ways, they're lucky they won the Commissioner's Cup. I would say they're lucky. They're lucky. They probably got set up. Like I said, the great New York sports conspiracy that I have for this past year. New York wins everything. Okay, Adam Silver, you just decided that like in a boardroom last summer. Guys, this year is going to be one of the greatest years in the NBA and the WNBA. We are going to have New York win everything. That's right, story writers. This is how we're going to set up the year. We're going to have the Knicks win both championships in the NBA. We're going to have the Liberty also win both championships. Watch. So if the Liberty win the WNBA championship this year, know that some bullshit is afoot. Because they want to just give all the awards to New York stuff. I mean, they didn't even win it to the point where they let Team Brunson win at the All Star weekend. That's how much they want New York to win right now on every level. They want New York to win the championship, the in-season tournament, the skills competition, the All-Star MVP for WNBA. They want them to win the Commissioner's Cup. It's obvious. Adam Silver came into a boardroom of people and said, "This is the year of New York, everyone. We're gonna direct everything that's good towards the New York teams in our leagues." Yeah, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat. It's just too perfect how things are unfolding, isn't it? Yeah, Adam Silver. Sometimes you don't cover your tracks very well by making things way too exactly how you would want them. And I see this. I mean, even John Kell Jones winning the MVP like that. I like that she said that about the Lynx because she's right. The Lynx are very good with Olivia Miles being such a force and them just getting Collier back. And I always forget that they have Howard on their team. Like they have Howard on their team now, Natasha, and she's really good. And we forget about her. It's like Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams, and all these former Lynx Timberwolves, like Carlton and Shepard around the league and stuff like that. They have a lot of love for their former team too and their teammates. There was some of that synergy. One of the synergies I saw on the court last night at the All Star game was between Breanna Stewart and Marina Mabrey. There's ties with them from Notre Dame, right? There's a lot of Notre Dame players that were all stars last night, Jackie Young, and there's a looking out. Like there was definitely a synergy between Stewie and Marina, and it was kind of like a thing where Stewie was looking out for Marina and trying to get her the ball, and that was cool. I mean, I had theorized or predicted a possible Breanna Stewart on Toronto Tempo before the season even started because I know how much Stewie is close to Sandy. And that, that was one of the things I was theorizing that because Sandy's the coach of the Tempo, she's going to attract really good players that want to play for her. And I thought that Stewie was one of them. And this could well be still possible in the future. I don't know. Although Breanna Stewart is getting up there as far as, her career. But who knows? Maybe there is a end of career denouement across the border in Canada, and she's getting to play with Marina Mabrey somehow because there was a natural chemistry as much as there was between Caitlin and Olivia Miles. There was definitely a natural chemistry between Stewart and Mabrey out there too, if you're really paying attention. Yeah, really paid attention. Yeah. Fiercely saying, I agree on the entertainment part, though the WNBA players do value the event to provide the fans a great experience. See, that's the difference right there, Fiercely. You just hit it the nail on the head is that the fans, you can tell authenticity. You can tell that the WNBA players involved in this All-Star weekend are doing it with their full passion and heart, and they are happy to be there. They also understand that part of growing their league and making it more attractive as a product to people to watch, they have to do the work to do that. The NBA players lost this at a certain point where they lost the agreement with, with the fans to make it a show and entertaining. This is why they had Larry Bird come in and yell at them ahead of one of the All-Star games in recent years where Larry came into the locker room and said, "You idiots, you need to make this fun and entertaining for the fans. This is not for you. Get out of your own damn egos. This is for the fans, this game. So give them a show." That's the problem right there. The WNBA players understand this. In fact, they have to do this because their league is expanding and growing and they want to attract people. So they understand the assignment. The NBA players have lost the assignment. The assignment is this is for the fans. This is a showcase of the product of the league. And you have to make it look good. And you have to have a passion in it. If you're just showing up just to show up and wave and yeah, I'm here. I'm Jokic. Yeah, I'm here. I don't really want to be here though. I would rather be watching horses. Yeah, you're not doing this right. And that's what you can tell. And they can fake it. They can show up and act like they really want to be there, but it's really hard for you to get that across if it's fake because you're not going to feel it. The people won't feel it. They can feel the inauthenticity of the NBA players at the All Star weekend. That's the difference. Now, young player like Scott showing up for the first time, Scott showing up for the second time, he's enthusiastic. He's like, I'm at All Star weekend. And in some ways, you can see the energy emanating off Scott, especially in the game they had this year with the USA versus world bullshit. They shouldn't do that format again. There shouldn't be three all-star teams. That's stupid. There should only be two. And honestly, if you had the guts, Adam Silver, you'd make it USA versus the world straight up. And there's not a second USA team and all that bullshit. Seriously, there's enough foreign players in this league, especially if you're going to start saying Norman Powell's Jamaican and Cat is Dominican and you're going to take American players and put them on the world team anyway. So it's like, just do it straight up because it's convoluted and stupid. And it also doesn't look fair because the way you set up the system with the three teams at the All Star game was like not fair. Honestly, it wasn't a fair system. And, you do this. I know why you do this because you have to safeguard it from the world winning. So you have to make it a 2-to-1 odds for the USA to win no matter what. Yeah, it's so insecure and dumb. It's like just let it be a straight up competition, USA versus the world. And you know what? That danger zone that you're so scared of, Adam Silver, that's actually where the excitement, the competition, and the gold of ratings and people watching and getting into it and enjoying the All-Star game is. But you're too scared because you have to keep global narratives on USA basketball's dominance in the world. And if oh God forbid the world team beat the USA team, what would that say about things? Nike would probably be upset. Okay, Adam Silver, I get it. But yeah, that's what they should do. They should make it a straight up 2-team game. There shouldn't be 3 teams at the All-Star weekend, Adam Silver at the NBA All-Star weekend. There shouldn't. There shouldn't be. It's crazy. Yeah. Let's see. Fiercely saying this. Kathy Engelbert was asked by the media if she will be the commissioner next year. She didn't say. She didn't say. I don't know what she said. She was asked by a lot about things. She said some stuff before the game. She had a press conference. One of the main things she said is that the WNBA is going to be utilizing the NBA's replay center next year. I thought they already did, but they don't. And this is dumb. Why weren't you already doing this? Like, seriously, Adam Silver and Kathy Engelbert. The resource is there. It's not like the NBA is in session right now. That room in Secaucus is there. They could have been using this for a while, but they're going to institute it next year. Hopefully, this will improve the officiating in the WNBA to have the replay center. But who knows? Sometimes the replay center is just as bad as the refs on site. We'll have to see. I'll be paying attention to this. You know me, my specialty with the refs. But yeah, I think that's an interesting thing that she announced. That's the big announcement that the WNBA is going to use the replay center next year. Wait a second, Kathy. What about the problems with racial taunting of your players and all kinds of other stuff? Yeah, we asked you those questions. I don't know how to answer this. I'm just going to give you a long, drawn out, stupid, talky answer that doesn't really tell you anything. Oh, okay, Kathy. Thank you for that answer on the problems in the NBA and how you're just a WNBA and how you're avoiding them. How you're avoiding them. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Who knows? She's getting booed. She got booed at the end of the All-Star game again when she went out there to present the trophy. Yeah. So Infamous is saying this. Sure, I will. The pace, lack of competition, no defense, jacking up shots. They're having fun, but it was not my speed. I'd rather the Friday night events personally. I mean, this is all true. The pace, there was a heightened pace at times. Certain people were pushing the ball, like Olivia Miles and Marina Mabrey. They pushed the ball to an extent, but this is normal. The whole thing about it is like these players don't want to get hurt, right? So they can't play all out. In some ways, that's part of the reason why they may be a little lackadaisical and not trying as hard. We all know that's the same thing for the NBA too. Is that's the worst if you got hurt at All-Star weekend and you're hurt from the All-Star weekend, that would be really, really bad. In the history of the NBA, that's happened to people, I think, in the past. So it's like you got to think about the rest of your season. You got to think about the things that matter. This is an exhibition, I get that. The whole thing about these kind of exhibition games is it should be fun. There should be jacking up crazy ass long shots, especially if they can make them and they look really cool when they do. So, no defense. There's defense here and there. There's spots of defense, a spot of defense here. Maybe one player on each team is playing defense every possession. Spot of defense. I mean, I get it. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. It's just how it is. Fiercely saying, I hear you and agree. Personally, I always prefer when there's competitive edge. Well, the competitive edge comes with a close game. If they really want to make it, you can manipulate this, Kathy Engelbert. Just tell the refs to be very biased towards the team that is losing, and they will always try and balance it out. Whoever's winning is getting the call against them, and whoever's losing gets favorable. And then that'll artificially bring the scores together. This is a trick that basketball has been using for a long time, NBA, WNBA. So in some ways, that would have made the game more interesting if it wasn't like a double-digit margin in the fourth quarter, is if it's closer. And there's actually drama to the question about who's going to win. But too early in the game, it was pretty evident that Team Witherspoon's going to win. And that ruins that competitive edge part right there, the margin being too wide. Trevor's saying this, Angel and Mabrey worked great together last night. I mean, the play that Angel assisted to Marina was very surprising to me because Angel, she didn't score, first of all. Angel did not try to score. She got like 4 rebounds and 5 assists, and that was her whole game. And she was more there to appear in her pink hair and do her whole excellent, grandiose, gorgeous appearance and entrance and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. In some ways, she's an icon of the WNBA, and she's just doing her thing. But I don't think her focus was to do that. It's kind of like A'ja Wilson at the beginning of the game. She said, I'm not trying to score. I just want to be the best teammate I can be out there. That's what she said before the game. So some of the players that, go to this all-star game every year and they're used to it, maybe they're playing little mini games. Instead, they don't care about being MVP. They don't care about scoring a lot. They just want to have fun. And maybe they're goofing around a little bit. A'ja Wilson not playing as hard. Angel Reese is saying, hey, there's Marina. I have a layup. I could just easily put the ball in over my head right here. But there's Marina. I'll just throw it to her. And wow, she hit it. That's what it feels like to give an assist to Marina Mabrey. Oh, yeah. I remember that in Chicago. Because they were teammates for a little bit there in Chicago, right? So Angel and Marina know each other from their past. So that makes sense that they would have a little bit of chemistry already, right? A little bit, right? Stargate's here. Good morning, Stargate. Olivia and Caitlin are like what Jordan and Isaiah were on the All-Star team. Great on-court chemistry. Is that really who you said? Isaiah and Jordan? Stargate, we do not remember the biggest feud in the history of the NBA, that these guys hate each other. Maybe they had chemistry when they were young before the Team USA debacle. Now, that one's real. Talking about Caitlin Clark and Cheryl Reeve. No, talk about the dream team with Michael Jordan and blocking Isaiah Thomas from going to Barcelona in 92. Yeah, that is a big time rivalry. So I don't get this. When I think of Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, I think grudge match, and they hate each other. Isaiah and Michael are not cool with each other. They are not cool with each other. In fact, they may be cooler now, but at that time in those eras, no, Michael Jordan did not like Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah Thomas did not like Michael Jordan. So I don't know what chemistry you're talking about. I don't know what chemistry you're talking about. Jordan and Isaiah? No. Maybe early on before that, like in the 80s, like young Jordan, before he won any championships, and Isaiah was at the top of his peak in the middle of mid 80s, like 85, 86. Maybe they were having chemistry then, but not after 1989. No. Eastern Conference Finals, Chicago, Detroit. No. I mean, remember, these guys wouldn't shake their hand when they left the court. There's too much animosity there. And if there was natural chemistry between Isaiah and Michael Jordan, well, it's lost in the feud. Yeah, Trevor J saying this: when Mabrey went to the bench, she cooled off after she came back in. Those shots weren't falling. Well, it's not that she went to the bench; it was halftime. And we also got to remember that the Tyla halftime show was a little longer, so halftime was a little bit longer than the normal halftime for a WNBA game. And well, you're gonna need to keep hot and keep shooting. Halftime shoot around, switching goals. Because she went cold in halftime and came back in the third quarter. She didn't have no shot. She missed everything in the third quarter. So she made all her points in the first half. I'm pretty sure all 23 points of hers were scored before halftime, and she missed everything after halftime. So maybe it was the longer halftime that made her cold, maybe because there was a show and there was dancing and there were people dunking and stuff like that during that show. That's right. Let's see. Stargate saying yes, definitely them as well. The on-court chemistry was undeniable. Yeah, there were a couple ones that made sense and looked good, for sure. I mean, they're very high-level players. This is gonna be how it is. Some of them play together on Team USA. Some of them play together on their regular teams. Some of them played together on teams when they were together on teams in the past. So, yeah, it's a small community. The WNBA is a small league right now. It's gonna expand, and there's a lot of the players are very familiar with each other. They're a family. They are for sure. Let's see. Trevor's saying this. That's what I said last week, that Minnesota looks like the champion this season. Oh, I've been saying this all season too. I mean, I look at their roster on paper and I'm like, this team's just too good. This team is like 10 stacked. They're deep. They're deep. And they've had people missing like Collier and Dorka, and they've been coming back in, which makes them stronger. There's a lot of similarities to the Minnesota Lynx to the Scarborough Shooting Stars, as far as they're already a badass team that's winning like crazy, and then people get healthy and come back, and all of a sudden they're bolstered even more to a higher level because all of a sudden they got Nafisa Collier back this week. And it's crazy because look, we're playing them the first two games back from the All-Star break. We're going to play them on Tuesday and Thursday this week and have to deal with the Lynx right away, right after this. Olivia Miles, oh my gosh, Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams, Nafisa Collier, Natasha Howard. This is a nasty team. This is a nasty team. In some ways, this is like an all-star team itself. I mean, because you could make the case, like, look, the Lynx had 3 all-stars. Kayla McBride could be an all-star easily. Collier was just injured. She's an all-star normally, right? So really, in a lot of ways, you could make the case that Minnesota Lynx have 5 all-stars because Collier should be in the all-star game if she's healthy. We know she's that kind of talent. She hadn't played until this past week. And, Kayla McBride in some ways is a snub. She could have been easily in the all-star game also because she's been an all-star many times herself. So, yeah, they look like the champion. I've been saying this the whole season. I feel like they've been the favorite since the beginning of the year because I noticed the Liberty and the Aces are slipping. They're not exactly up to the highest level that they have been in the last couple of years. Part of it with the Liberty is the change of the coach to DeMarco. And then with the Aces, it's just natural for the queen on top to somewhat stumble a little bit and not be exactly the same excellent quality that they've been for years and winning 3 out of the last 4 years. So there's, they're right for the picking. And the Lynx are my favorite too to win it all. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been saying this for a bit myself. Fiercely saying, sorry, Lex, I have to clarify. John Quell made that statement right after the Liberty won a couple of years ago. Although I was rooting for the Liberty to win, I admit the refs helped them. Yeah, they do. New York teams get help. That happened with the Knicks in the finals against the Spurs. New York teams get help because unlike some teams, they have the wind at their back and not at their face. And that wind is the NBA head office. So it's like, yeah, New York teams get help. That's just part of it. That's why in some ways I don't totally respect the Knicks championship this year because it was a storyline written to get to that. Seriously, they wanted them to win. They really badly wanted them to win. So they set it up for them to win. That's right. Infamous is saying the NBA All-Star Game is broken as well. Well, this is the thing. I would say this one is not. The WNBA All-Star Game did exactly what it's supposed to do last night. It was a showcase of the talent of the league, and it went off really, really well. And I found it was entertaining. And honestly, this is a different era. Once again, we got to understand the WNBA in its 30th season is in the age of Magic and Larry with Caitlin and Angel. And we should be looking at it in the lens of the early 80s NBA and the burgeoning profit machine that the NBA would become with Jordan coming in and everything going from the early 80s into the 90s. So that's where we're at with the WNBA. So we're in a totally different time. Like I said earlier, this is fresh. This is different. There's a novelty. The players enjoy it and the passion's seen. The NBA players don't have this when they're out there. This is like a drag. The WNBA players are happy to be here. So there's differences here, Infamous. And if you pay attention to the energy, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a lot of joy. There's a celebration. The NBA is just like, do we have to be here? So there's a big difference. Don't lump them together. The problems of the two All-Star games are different. And honestly, the WNBA's All-Star game doesn't have a problem right now. You guys can look at the kind of weak competition and like the way it is. It's an exhibition. It's never ever going to really be a certain way. And I would actually make the argument that the WNBA players last night did it like the old 80s and 90s NBA All-Stars, which is basically like for a part of the game, you're just screwing around and putting on a show, like logo shots from Caitlin Clark and a dunk from Malonga. But at a certain point, you tighten up and you start trying to play competitively for the end. Now, maybe Hammond and Cooper didn't do the right strategy to get the right personnel out there to have the best chance to try and come back and win the game against Team Spoon. But there was a certain uptick in defense and trying and making sure your side wins, at least on the Witherspoon side. So I would argue this is not the same. That this game is not broken. In fact, this game hasn't even built itself up and started itself to the point where we could say it's broken. This is on its way up. The NBA has gone over the hill with their All-Star game. That's the difference. It's tired. We've seen everything at it. They're having a hard time making it fresh. They're having a hard time keeping the players involved in a way where they care. And well, it's not the same with the WNBA. That's my point right here, because it's on the up and up and it's on a growth swing. And in some ways, these women that play in the WNBA understand the assignment. The NBA players don't. They don't. They don't understand the assignment. And it's basically the intentions of how they play. You know what I'm saying? It's basically like that, right? So let's see. Stargate saying, in reference to Jordan and Isaiah, they had great on-court chemistry in those All-Star games they played in together. Go watch the old YouTube videos. I'm not referring about regular games or any of the other things you mentioned. Well, if it was in the mid 80s, okay, maybe there were a few games where they actually were playing together and they were fine, but you know how that all went at a certain point. I just find it funny that you're trying to say that Isaiah and Michael had really natural good chemistry. They may have, but they hate each other. So it's like, what does it matter? That's the whole thing. That's the thing. When you talk about Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, what are you going to think of? You're not going to think of them having chemistry. You're going to think of their feud, because that's the thing that's important from their history, right? Is their feud. That's the thing everybody remembers, right? Right. I mean, yeah, you could probably dig up the All-Star game from 86 or 70, 87 or something like that. Maybe you'll see some stuff where they're cool. It's really before the Bulls became a threat to the Pistons. As soon as the Bulls started getting their shit together after Doug Collins and Phil Jackson showed up and Scottie Pippen from the Sonics, and that's when things started to pick up. And then, when the Bulls started to be a real threat to the bad boy Pistons, they weren't friends, or nothing was cool anymore. That was really crazy, drag them out kind of rivalry where it was not nice. And what happened was the Pistons would beat the Bulls and get to the finals, play the Lakers, beat the Lakers. Pistons would play the Bulls, beat the Bulls, get the finals, play the Blazers, win the championship 2 years in a row. And then the next year, the Bulls beat the Pistons, and the Pistons were not happy to be knocked off being the top spot, and just such bad animosity. That's all the stuff I think about when I think about Thomas and Jordan. But you may be true. It may be right, but I don't remember any of that very well, because honestly, that was, before I really, really got into the NBA. I really, really got into the NBA the year that the last year the Lakers won in the Showtime era in '88, and then boom into the Pistons championship the next year. Yeah. Let's see. Infamous is saying they're a sleeper team that nobody talking about. The Golden State Valkyries. I believe they'll upset a few teams. See, I don't believe in them at all. In fact, watching Gabby Williams in the All Star game last night, I was like, why is she even here? Seriously. I mean, I get it that Gabby Williams is a long time a WNBA player that has a resume. I think in some ways that's why she's there. Once again, I don't respect the Valkyries franchise. I feel like they're paying to win, that their valuation $1 billion and their owner is paying for them to win. I think that her getting a starter spot on the All-Star game last night was not right. She's not the same caliber as the other people who are starting. No total disrespect to Gabby Williams, but I've never thought of her as a top tier WNBA player. I mean, I've had her on my fantasy team in recent years. I've seen what her stats look like. I've seen that she's kind of sometimes not even a starter. I just didn't get this. The whole inclusion of her in the starting lineup and her being the Valkyries, I didn't even believe that the Valkyries deserved an all-star. Seriously. Even though they're a top team, because in some ways I look at their team and when they played us, I was like, this is not an extraordinary team. This is a humdrum team to me. So I don't see this like you, Infamous. I don't respect the Valkyries. I feel like in some ways they're getting propped up by the league. They're not as good as everybody thinks they are. And well, they're not one of the teams I respect. And Gabby Williams being a starter at the All-Star game, I didn't agree with that. That was not the right person to be in the starting lineup. No, I would have put Marina in the starting lineup over Gabby Williams as far as star quality and being a star. Yeah, forget the Valkyries. Fuck Golden State. Fuck Golden State and their bullshit. That's right. Trevor J saying this: if Brittany was not injured, she would have been an all-star for the Tempo. Yeah, we'll never know. And that's the sad thing about that injury that Sykes had, is that this season got messed up for not just her, but for our team. And well, it's just how it goes. It's the WNBA. It's basketball. That's how it goes. And well, woulda, coulda, shoulda. It didn't happen. Well, Brittany, get healthy and play really well next year. Maybe you'll get to the All-Star game next year. It's woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah, she could have had an all-star appearance if she was healthy. I mean, in some ways, they probably should have gave her the all-star nod, just like Kelsey Plum, and had her in street clothes sitting on the bench. But they didn't even do that. Some ways, it's partly because we already had a Toronto all-star, and it was clear, and it made the decision easy. They probably didn't want to give us two all-stars in our first year. Really didn't want to. So when Sykes got hurt, it made it real easy. Made it real easy. Yeah, Fiercely saying this: Gabby Williams is on my fantasy team. She's doing very well this year, even better than Veronica Burton. She's a two-way player and a menace on steals. I mean, look, I like her as a player. I just don't think she's flashy or star caliber enough. I think that in some ways she's a longtime vet. She's a steady vet, but is she really like a star? Like seriously, I just don't see it. I think that she's more of a star for France than she is in the WNBA. So I that's just my own personal opinions. Yeah, that's my own personal opinions on that. Yeah, I'm not afraid of the Valkyries. Actually, the Tempo would have beat the Valkyries if it hadn't been some bullshit in that one game we played against them. The refs manipulated that game. And honestly, we match up really good with Golden State. That's why I don't scare them. I'm not scared of them. And that's why I kind of think they're full of shit and that everybody's overhyping them, is what I would say. Yeah. Yeah. She's a star for France. Yeah, Gabby did really good at the Olympics the last time in Paris. She did a really good job there. Yeah, Malonga and all them. Yeah, they've got, I mean, just like in the NBA, there's a lot of good French players in the WNBA. Definitely. And they definitely look out for each other and cheer for each other, for sure. For sure. All right, let me move on with my tabs here real quick. Let's check in with the CBL. It's getting to the end of the season, and the playoff races are really going crazy right now. We had a few games last night. We had two games in the CBL last night. First, we'll start with out west. We had Winnipeg Sea Bears. Oh, this was Brampton. It was Winnipeg Sea Bears and Brampton in Winnipeg. It was a 2-point win for Brampton. This is an afternoon game yesterday. And, well, this is bad news for Winnipeg in some ways because they lost number one in the Western Conference, as Vancouver won yesterday and they lost. So Vancouver's now number one in the West. Brampton winning their game put them a game above three of the Eastern teams. It gave them a little bit of breathing room just below Scarborough Shooting Stars as 1 and 2 in the Eastern Conference. So yeah, 88-86, a very close game. That gives a lot of drama in the target score time. And that's what we could have used in the WNBA game last night, a close margin, just like that. So in the win for Brampton, the leading scorer was 38 points by Sean East, the second rising star of the NBA G League player, G League All Star. 38 points on 11 to 26 shooting. Yeah, he had a fantastic game. He had 9 rebounds also. So yeah, Sean East leading his team with 38 points in 37 minutes on that side. On the other side of things for the Winnipeg Sea Bears, it was Teddy Allen with 29 points, the leading scorer in the league, and 28 for Xavier Moon. But alas, they lost by 2 to Brampton. And well, Winnipeg loses the top spot in the West. Brampton is in second above Ottawa, Montreal, and Niagara. In the other game yesterday, Vancouver beat Saskatoon 104-97. It was a good game out in BC. And well, the leading scorer for the Bandits was Tevin Brown, who had 23 points in the starting lineup. And on the other side, Saskatoon Mamba, Tevian Dunn Martin got 27 in the losing effort. Double-double for Jaden Bediako, 12 and 13 rebounds. So, yeah, big win for Vancouver to take command of the Western Conference and the number 1 seed in the Western side of things. Saskatoon has been playing well lately, and they have gotten themselves to a point where they're probably going to be in the playoffs. But it's not for sure. But they're close. They're close. So there's a few games today in the CBL that are very important that will go down later today. First of all, at 3 p.m. in St. Catharines at Meridian Center, the Ottawa Blackjacks will take the court against the 2-time CBL champions, reigning champions, the Niagara River Lions. They're both 9 and 12, and this is a very pivotal, important game to decide. If you lose this game, whichever team's going to lose this game, it may be the one that misses the playoffs. So this is an extremely important game today. Ottawa at Niagara, 3 p.m. Eastern. It will be on YouTube for free, or go to the arena and watch it yourself. Also today at 4 p.m. in the afternoon at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Center, Scarborough Shooting Stars will be hosting Montreal Alliance today. This is an important game also for Montreal because they have the same record as Niagara and Ottawa. So if Scarborough continues their quest to get 20 wins, which means they have to win their last 3 games this week because they're 17 and 4, Montreal loses, they go to the bottom of the Eastern Conference and possibly out of the playoffs. So Niagara, Ottawa, and Montreal all need a win bad, but Montreal's got the hardest hill to climb, playing Scarborough in Scarborough today at 4. There is a possibility I might get in the truck and go to this game, but I'm not totally sure yet. Later on, there will be a West Coast game also. Calgary at Edmonton, 6 p.m. And well, if Calgary wins this one in Edmonton Expo Center, they will have an even record with Edmonton, and they will be out of the mire of possibly not making the playoffs. So Calgary Surge have done a really good job of winning games late this season to come out from the bottom of the Western Conference and still try and make the playoffs, which is amazing. Because seriously, it's been tough. It's been tough. So yeah, that's what's on the slate today. 3 games, a game in Niagara, a game in Scarborough, and a game in Edmonton. So if you're in any of those markets, you can go to CBL action today. That's right. Ottawa Blackjacks better step up. Yeah, they got to beat the 2-time champs in Niagara today. And hopefully they can do that. Javonte Smart, let's go. Let's go. Smooth saying this, for what it's worth, per reporting, DeMar DeRozan and the Toronto Raptors have intensified talks. Raptors are considered favorites to sign him. Yeah, just stop, Reg. Just stop. All right. There's been posts that have been coming out from Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan in recent days, actually for a couple weeks now, and they reference the movie partnerships of life. There's very much talked about that they view their friendship very much like Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy in the movie Life, that DeMar is Eddie Murphy and Kyle is Martin Lawrence. And they do a lot of posts on their Instagram with these guys and scenes in reference to things that are going on. And Kyle made a post in the last 24 hours basically asking the NBA, somebody sign my friend DeMar. That's the last official thing I've heard. There's so much bullshit out here, Smooth. Some of the stuff that y'all been posting about DeMar DeRozan in our Discord is recycled. It's stuff that was said like 2 weeks ago. In fact, Trevor posted something that was like 2 weeks old in the last couple of days. And I'm like, man, stop recycling this DeMar DeRozan stuff over and over again. You guys got to understand, this is not possible. You can say this, and I don't know who the rumors saying this. It could be Jake Fisher. It could be Mark Stein. I don't give a shit who it is. Once again, this is speculation. And I really don't like it's kind of gaslighting, guys. DeMar's a Raptors GOAT. He's the greatest Raptor of all time in a lot of respects. And in some ways, this is not respectful to go through trade speculation with his name and our team so much. Leave it alone. If it happens, we'll react afterwards. But building everybody up, whether it's DeMar, whether it's the fans, on the idea of this is not fair because we're more than likely going to be disappointed. So realize in some ways you're a pawn for manipulation and gaslighting of our Raptors nation. And in some ways, a toxic thing that could happen with the Raptors and DeMar DeRozan that is not good. We don't want there to be a fallout just because they hyped this up, said, oh, DeMar to Toronto, and then it doesn't happen, and then there's hard feelings. You're setting up Raptors fans to be disappointed is what I'm saying, Reggie. So just stop. Just stop. I don't want to hear anything about DeMar until DeMar officially announced where he is, just like LeBron this week, okay? Because this is just getting dumb at this point. I'm not for DeMar being on our team. I'm really not because he doesn't fit and it doesn't make any fucking sense. We have RJ. RJ plays the role that DeMar would play. And in some ways, I'm protective of RJ Barrett. That's another reason why I don't want DeMar on this team because I want DeMar to not be here taking RJ stuff because they do a lot of the same things, RJ Barrett and DeMar DeRozan. And we have RJ, guys. He's our hometown hero. And in some ways, the whole talk about DeMar DeRozan coming to Toronto is disrespectful to RJ Barrett. Let's just say that. How about that? How about that aspect of it that you guys aren't thinking about too? So just cut it out. In some ways, I don't want to ban talk about stuff, but I'm asking you guys, no more trade speculation. And Reggie, you bring this in every once in a while, like every couple of days. And I'm just sick of this shit. If it's news, if it's an official report, like LeBron is going to Philadelphia the other day, we'll talk about it. But I'm through with speculation. I'm through with rumors. I'm through with intensified talks. It doesn't mean jack shit. It doesn't mean jack shit. I'm sick of this shit. I'm just sick of it. That's right. That's right. Infamous is saying the Valkyries elite defense. Okay, I didn't see that. With the second best defensive rating and have the offense to go with that, they are 17-5 for a reason, beating a lot of the top teams. Yeah, they probably get referee calls. I mean, look, Infamous. I know you watch the WNBA a lot. And, Mr. Greg watches WNBA a lot. Trevor watches WNBA a lot. Major Sports that came in here, Indiana Fever fan, she watches WNBA a lot. I've heard both Mr. Greg and Major Sports Network tell me on this show that the Valkyries are a sham and that they see exactly what I see. I'm just saying. And this is an Indiana Fever fan that says this. And this is Mr. Greg, who was in broadcasting with Toronto and all kinds of sports for like decades. And this is things that they have said. And I saw it myself independent of them. And when I talked about it on the show, they were like, you're right. The Valkyries are getting help. They're getting help from the refs. They're getting help from the league. So you go ahead and tout their stats and stuff like that. That's fine. But I'm telling you that they're propped up, that they've had such success so far. And that's not by accident. That was a plan. And they made them have success. Because in some ways, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert want that market to really take off for the WNBA. So they don't want to drop the ball in any kind of way. So they really make sure. And I also have that theory that their owner, who's very rich, has paid the WNBA extra money to make sure they're a winning team. So I don't respect that. And I'm not going to respect that. You can go ahead and give me that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Fiercely saying, are Kalo and Debo trolling? Yeah. They're trolling the speculation to a degree. Russell Westbrook's involved in it too. And in some ways, DeMar doesn't deserve this, guys. He doesn't deserve this. In some ways, it's like it's smacking of Precious a couple years ago waiting for a team, right? Precious waiting around. We're like, "Was Precious got picked up yet?" No, man, he ain't got picked up yet. He's still out there. Should we get him in Toronto? No, man, we've already had Precious. We don't need Precious. Oh, Precious signed with the Kings right before the season started. In some ways, this smacks of that. I don't know what's going to happen to DeMar. I think it's more likely DeMar DeRozan's Miami Heat, guys, than any other team in this league. I'll bet you money. He very well might go to the Miami Heat and play with Giannis and them down south. Giannis and Bam. In some ways, that idea that I heard, because I've heard that rumor too, guys. I've heard that rumor too. But do you see me reporting it on the channel? No, I'm just bringing it up right now because we're talking about this. I've heard that DeMar is going to the Miami Heat, y'all. So, I mean, until this happens, we just got to table this and stop talking about it. Seriously, I know y'all enjoy this. If you enjoy talking about this, go to another channel and talk about it because I don't want to do this. In some ways, first of all, I love this guy so much. And once again, I don't like saying I don't want him on our team because I don't, because I know it's not good for our team if he comes back. And it's not necessarily that he's a good person. It's not that he's a good player. He doesn't fit with our unit of who we are right now. He doesn't fit with our team that we are right now, y'all. He doesn't. So leave it alone. In some ways, this is like fucking with an ex-girlfriend of yours, making them act like you want to be back with her, but you really don't. And you're just kind of talking shit to her and lead her on. Let's not do this to DeMar. Can we stop, please? Because I love this guy. I don't hate him. It's not that I don't want this to happen possibly, but this is not the right settings. Once again, my goal is that. My goal is that. I want the Raptors to win the championship. And in some ways, at this point with our team and what I just said about RJ Barrett, we don't want or need this guy on our team. You guys only want this for sentimentality. It doesn't make any fucking sense. We have 2.4 million. Do you think that we can pay him $2.4 million just to play for our team this year? Probably not. This doesn't make sense money-wise. It doesn't make sense basketball-wise. So why the fuck are y'all pushing it so hard? That's what I would say. Why are y'all pushing it so hard? I love DeMar. I will always love DeMar. DeMar will get number 10 up in the Raptors. Fuck you, Drake. We got to stop doing this. This is toxic. The whole DeMar over talking about him possibly coming to the Raptors needs to stop. It's toxic. It's toxic. So just stop is what I'm going to say right there. Just stop. Just stop. Because I love DeMar too much to do this bullshit right now. This is what I'm saying right now. This is what I'm saying right now. So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Let me keep going. Let's see. Nameless is saying, I only want DeMar if he's in recently vacant Garrett Temple position. See, I don't want that either because that's no good for DeMar. DeMar is close to the top 10 all-time scoring list. He's number 19 or 18. If he scores 3,000 points in the next 2 seasons, he can pass Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, George Gervin, all these crazy names and be above and be one of the top 10 all-time scorers in the league's history, cumulative. So he can't waste away on the bench like Garrett Temple, nameless. He can't sit over there and not get minutes and points and shots. No, that's why it's not the right fit, y'all. We don't have shots for him in Toronto. We've got Kawhi. We've got Scotty. We've got Colin. We've got RJ. We've got Emmanuel. We don't have shots for DeMar in Toronto, guys. As much as y'all think he's going to add to things, he might just confuse things and make things even more tough and to figure out. In some ways, he could be not necessarily a good addition. You guys think, oh, you just put him on there. He's just a guy on the bench. We just throw in for emergency. No, we can't do this because we have a very specific style with the Toronto Raptors at this point. We have a coach that is very much a move the ball around all around the court. DeMar DeRozan is an isolation player. I mean, I can give you 12 different reasons why this is a bad idea, but y'all won't listen to me. You'll look at the dumbass rumors and you'll continue to push this and say, DeMar back. Oh, I'm all for it. Have you really thought about it clearly with a straight head without a heart involved? Because that's why I feel like a lot of people are doing this. It's because it's like nostalgia. It's hard. Oh, it'd be so nice. It'd be a storybook. We can fix things. Listen, DeMar fixed things already. He doesn't need to come back to fix things. He's forgiven us. He loves Toronto. He loves the fans. He's not upset about getting traded for Kawhi so long ago anymore. He's worked through it. So we don't need to have this closure with him because he's fine. In fact, he's cool with us. In fact, he's going to do what Kyle just did. He'll sign a one-day contract, retire with us, and we'll put number 10 in the rafters. And we'll celebrate him forever after that. So seriously, y'all, come on now. Come on now. Understand this. And we need DeMar to go to a team where he can get a lot of shots and a lot of production so he can move up that chart. And we can say this is a Raptors draft pick that is in the top 10 all-time NBA scoring. That's more impressive to me than him coming back and doing anything with us at this point. I want DeMar to go on this journey alone because he has been going alone this whole time. And he needs to see his journey through. And that's to get higher on the all-time career scoring list in the NBA. That should be his priority right now. I'm sorry. If he can do a side quest and ring chase, get in the playoffs, and get some more playoff basketball for himself like he wants to too, that's great too. But it's not going to work in Toronto. You guys know that. You guys want to fuck with RJ Barrett's career and possibly RJ Barrett being on Toronto Raptors? Bring DeMar to Toronto then. Because that's what I'll tell you right there. That's what you'll be doing. You'll be fucking with RJ. Because RJ's spot is DeMar's spot. And we ain't doing that, man. We ain't doing that. You know I'm protective of Rowan Barrett Jr. Oh, yeah, you know I am. And I love both of them. But RJ has his time now. DeMar had his time in the 2010s, okay? Can we get this across now? Seriously. I'm such a passionate Raptors fan. You guys know I love DeMar. I'm not trying to be toxic or mean to him. I'm just keeping real about this. Seriously. And maybe speaking some sense into y'all. Seriously. That's right. Just high fives and smiles. But in terms of actual minutes on the court, I'm good on that. Yeah, see, that's not going to work for me. That man is too close to passing Shaquille O'Neal in the all-time scoring list. He needs to pass Shaq. He needs to pass Shaq. Because then we can say DeMar DeRozan has more points in the NBA than Shaquille O'Neal. He needs to pass Shaq. Don't you think that's important? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's saying our team lacks vets. Great point, Nameless. No, DeMar's got more gas in the tank. That man can still play. You're going to tell him to come up here and take a very small amount of money just to watch games? You guys are being disrespectful to DeMar, is what I'm saying right now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying right there. All right, let's see what Kareem's saying here. Today marks me and my wife's 6th time being godparents. I don't know what we are doing, but we are doing something right. My brother and sister-in-laws chose us to be the godparents of both their kids. Well, congratulations. That's great. There you go. All right. Let's see. Fiercey's saying this. On another topic, watching the mascots doing the dance-offs and chilling in the All-Star reminded me we still don't have one. Yeah, that's a good point. That's something that we should think about. I don't know. They keep teasing it. That metronome is not the real mascot, even though it's kind of a cool idea, but it doesn't totally make sense. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of cool when the whole crowd was doing that sway. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. It was kind of like a wave, but it was a sway. You know, this is true, Fiercey. We do still need to figure out a mascot for the Toronto Tempo. Maybe it doesn't happen in the first season. Maybe it's something that comes in next year, makes the second year a little more fresh, because all of a sudden we've got a mascot in the second year. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes right there. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I totally forget that we don't have a mascot too. It's kind of crazy. Everyone was just saying we may need to get him to block other teams getting him. The East will be extremely competitive. No, no, we're not. Oh my gosh. You guys are not good strategists. You don't get people to block people. That's dumb. That's dumb strategy. That doesn't. People are going to get people either way. It's not like you can just get everybody to block people. Like, could we get LeBron just to block the Sixers from getting LeBron? No, this is ridiculous. Any of these reasonings that you guys give me for getting DeMar are not working. None of it is building a case in the right direction. This is absolutely stupid. There's no reason to just get DeMar just to block him from going to another team. That sounds ridiculous and controlling. Seriously, let DeMar go to Miami and let him be one of the primary scorers next to those guys down there. Maybe it's not Miami. I've said also that DeMar would look really good in Charlotte right now. My favorite place for him to go to right now is the Lakers. Could the Lakers get him somehow, some way, and put him on a team with Luka and them? Because that's where DeMar wants to play the most, is the Lakers. He's always dreamed of playing for the Lakers. Growing up in Compton, he's always dreamt of playing for the Lakers. That is the team he wants to play for. That's if y'all really want what DeMar wants, you would say he should be on the Lakers because that's his dream since he was a little kid is to be a Laker someday. So, I mean, seriously, guys, that's what I say right there. You guys are congratulating Kareem. Okay. Yeah, I'm a godfather myself. Um, my goddaughter, I think she's like 20 now, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I feel like they're doing this to us because our kids are 21 years old and we're kind of out of the loop with babies. Okay. All right, Kareem. Thanks for sharing your personal life. That's great. All right. Let's keep going. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Let's see. G saying this. Marina represented well. She was saying glowing things about Toronto and Canada. You can tell she's grateful. Yeah, this is important stuff. This is the stuff to talk about. Marina really doesn't take lightly having the whole country behind her. She really doesn't. She doesn't take lightly that at all. And she really talked a lot about Montreal. She talked a lot about how the fans have been so supportive at Coca-Cola and how like the city's just been buzzing and it's just been so fun. You know, the WNBA's had a weird history where, there's been times in its history where the players aren't really celebrities. They could be out and about in public and nobody would even know they're in the WNBA. But, that's one of the cool things that some of the tempo players have been saying about being in Toronto is that they go places and they get recognized. Like Slim was saying one day, I was out in Toronto and I was wearing stuff to try and hide myself, like incognito, wearing glasses and a hoodie over my head. And they still recognized me and ran up to me and said, Brittany, Brittany, Brittany. So that's kind of cool. That I don't think that they're totally used to that. And that Toronto really has been awesome for them feeling special and feeling more like celebrities. The other thing that they've said about our fans up here is that we're respectful and we actually give them distance and we don't interfere with their lives and come in and like be rude and we keep a distance from them and we kind of gauge whether we should talk to them or not. Like it's more likely a Toronto fan, if they see a tempo player out in the public, they're yelling to them, hey, look, Laura Yascada, we love you. We love you. And Laura could be, oh, happy and nice. It's good. It's good because they do have a whole country behind them. And when they go to Vancouver in the next month, they're going to feel that from the West Coast next. Yeah, they're going to feel that from the West Coast next. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think that she represented really, really well, G. I think you're exactly right. And she got a lot of interviews. And once again, it made the Toronto Tempo look good. And I think that that's your main point here. She really represented us right. KT saying this, I don't want DeMar back here, but there's a lot of things pointing that he may very well be back here. Sources say he's willing to play for the vet minimum. There's reasons why another team hasn't got him. Yeah, don't do this. I just did a whole 15 minutes on the reasons why it's not going to happen. And you're going to kind of come in and try and say, oh, there's a lot of things pointing to that it will happen. I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that are not pointing to it happening. Once again, we have 2.4 million left on our cap right now. That's not enough for a vet minimum even. I don't think we legally. All right, I want to explain to you guys. DeMar DeRozan has a certain amount of years in the league. There is a certain amount of money that he can be paid. Like LeBron's bottom minimum is probably $4 million. There has to be a certain floor because the Players Association want everybody to make sure they're getting fairly compensated at the veteran level that they are for how many years they're in. DeMar DeRozan's veteran minimum is probably higher than the money we have available. In fact, I think Michael Grange has reported this in the last month, and y'all are not listening. That Michael Grange basically put out a tweet. Y'all are looking at all these other tweets and coming and reporting them back to me. Why didn't you fucking come back and tell me the one that Michael Grange said? Which is basically say the Raptors can't afford DeMar DeRozan because he's on a minimum that is higher than what we have available. So this isn't even a possible thing, and y'all talk so much about this and go over this so much. I don't think this is possible, guys. I don't think this is impossible. This is possible in the least because we don't have the money, y'all. We're at the top. And we're basically, like I've told y'all, the last 3 spots on our team are going to be filled in with rookies like Nate Biddle, and they're going to be paid like very little because that's all we have in the hard cap under $209 million. So look, you guys can talk about pie in the sky, nephew, speculation, rumor shit. I'm talking about the real deal facts about the cap and what is possible. And it's not. I keep telling you guys this. I've been telling y'all this consistently for like a month. And Michael Grange even announced it. So it's bona fide. So will you listen? Will you listen? Seriously. Kareem's saying he's probably declining all of them, but maybe Miami could still swoon him. Who knows? Either way, stop trying to think what DeMar's thinking. In some ways, DeMar can do whatever the fuck he wants, but I don't think he will be coming to Toronto. And I gave like 12 different reasons in the last hour of my show. Seriously, if you go back and listen to what I said, Kareem, right when you showed up, you can see exactly what I'm saying. Nameless is saying, of course, acquiring DeMar is a dumb idea and was never even a realistic option. DeMar was never coming to Toronto, people. Hate to bust the bubble. It's a feel-good thing, and people want to try and heal. It's like, you know what? Y'all want to heal life because life is all fucked up because of a fucking pedophile in the White House. There's a lot of things that are broken right now. And in some ways, maybe there's some sort of weird psychological thing where you think if DeMar DeRozan comes back here that you'll be healing something. That's not what this is, guys. Once again, DeMar, he don't need to come here to heal. He's a very independent person, and he went through the dark night himself. He went through the dark night of the soul by himself. He faced that all on his own, and he fought it. He went to therapy. He got help, and he came out a better, stronger man for it. It's in his book, Above the Noise, sitting behind me right there. He went through the fire internally by himself as soon as we traded him to San Antonio, and all the different thoughts he had going through the passing of his father and different things that he had to go through in the years after that. He's gone through so much by himself on his own journey. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the Raptors. It has to do with him personally and his own personal journey and his mental things that he had to beat. So yeah, I don't get this, man. You guys aren't seeing this clearly. You guys are obviously tainted by nostalgia. And that's what the problem is right here. G's saying she said she wants an all-star weekend in Toronto and Scotiabank and it would be lit inside out. I love that idea. I love that idea. And I think we will get it. I think we will. We will. I'm pretty sure we'll get the all-star weekend in Toronto and the WNBA in the next 5 years. I'll bet you we will get it in the next 5 years. For sure we will. For sure we will. Trevor J saying, just hope Brittany and Kiki come back very soon and kick some ass. It looks like Kiki Rice was at the All-Star weekend. She posted a couple of Instagram stories observing Marina at the game and cheering for her. In fact, she was very proud of Mabrey in the first half for her barrage of offense that made her very proud to be her teammate. So yeah, Kiki Rice was in Chicago yesterday watching the whole thing and maybe in some ways having feelings of missing out because, she can see a rookie like Miles out there playing in the All-Star game. She can see a rookie like Fudd winning the three-point shootout. And maybe she's wondering about, well, I would have done maybe something at this weekend if I had been healthy. Her and Sykes could have easily been participants at the WNBA All-Star weekend this weekend in some form. They both could have been. Yeah. They both could have been. Smooth saying Michael Grange as a bona fide reporter, anything he says, the opposite happens. Yeah, but Smooth, he's talking about the cap, and I can look at the cap. Once again, how much money does the Raptors have to spend right now? $2.4 million. $2.4 million. A veteran minimum contract, I think, is 2.6 or 2.7. And even with DeMar, who's a 20-year vet almost, his rate may be even higher because they go by how many years you served, right? And how much you can been spending on that. So I really do believe I saw Michael Grange tell everybody, he wasn't even saying just DeMar. He was saying the idea of Kyle, DeMar, or Jonas coming back to Toronto is not realistic, Raptors fans, because we don't have the money to do this. He said that about all three of them. When Jonas had not made his decision to go back home yet, and Kyle had not retired totally, he said that about all three of them. And think about it. Kyle retired on July the 7th. So we've been telling you guys this for over 20 days. So why aren't you listening? Why are you listening? Grange is one of the most reliable sources for the Raptors. As much as I hate him, as much as he has poor decision-making on leaking Kyle Lowry press conference for retirement, he is one of the most knowledgeable insiders for the Raptors, and he is one of the most dependable even as I hate him. The reasons why I don't like Grange are because he'll write hit pieces that gaslight Raptors fans into thinking there's something wrong with the team. But when Grange is reporting news from being around the Raptors, he's accurate. He's accurate. So you got to understand the reasons why I don't like or I do like Michael Grange. I like Michael Grange because he sits in the rooms where the Raptors players and coaches are actually at and actually talks to them directly. Does Mark Stein do that? No. Does Jake Fisher do that? No. But Michael Grange, Blake Murphy, Josh Lewenberg, those guys do. So that's why you listen to those guys, because they're literally in the room with them, talking to them. And Michael Grange made this very clear. He can be very factual, but also if he's writing an opinion piece, like for Sportsnet, where he's writing the Raptors might be in trouble this year because of Jakob Poeltl's contract, he's just gaslighting. So there's two different actions here. There's the reporting, which is tweets, and him coming out. I was at practice today, and Coach Darko said this. Then there's his opinion pieces, which are long written out articles where he might be writing some crazy ass shit trying to make us all doubt our team. So you got to understand the two differences here. Seriously. Yeah. Let's see. Smooth saying whatever happens with DeMar, it is what it is. But Grange, come on, man. I'm telling you what I just said with Grange. And like I said, that's why I say y'all wait for it to happen. I guess you guys just want to talk about it, but I don't. I hate speculation. Let's talk about things that actually happen, like this. This is real, and this is true news. Raptors Redditor of the Day, Big Dog 1400, is reporting that AJ Lawson has agreed to play for Baskonia the upcoming season in Spain. So AJ Lawson is officially out of the NBA for right now and going to play for Baskonia, a team that has employed other Canadian Eugene Omeroy in the last year, our former undrafted player from college, Marquise Noel, and even one-time Raptor 10-day contract Kobe Simmons were on Baskonia last year. They won the championship. So AJ Lawson's officially going to Spain to play for Baskonia this season, and he is not returning to the Raptors. And this is not speculation. This is not rumors. This is the news. So you can see the difference. Yeah, so it's official. AJ is not back. He's going to Baskonia. Baskonia. Yeah. Stargate's laughing. Trevor's saying, today I'm going to help out a family of 6 today with groceries. I told them to meet me at the store. That's a nice gesture, and I appreciate people like Trevor that do kind things for other people. Yeah, there's a couple things I'm trying to do kind for people right now. It's been a little bit difficult, but we're still trying. We're going to try and still get my friend Anton back to Florida. It's not going totally smooth, but it is what it is. He's hanging in there, and we're getting closer. So, but yeah, fantastic. Do this, Trevor. Awesome. I love that you do this every once in a while. I really do. Smith saying, I don't even read that guy. I take Doug Smith seriously before him. Well, they're the same because they're in the same room and they're hearing the same thing. That's what I would say to that. Eric Kareen. I have my favorites. Like on Blue Skies, I follow Grange, I follow Lewenberg, I follow Doug Smith, I follow Blake Murphy. And those are the guys that are really the most reliable. If I liked Eric Kareen more, I might follow him too, but he's snarky and he does stupid tweets other than the news reporting. So yeah, Lewenberg to me is number one. He's no nonsense. In some ways, he's going to be the most real journalist. Doug Smith is the legacy reporter with the history. In some ways, he's a little bit slow to get the news and put it out, but he is historically the most important reporter for the Toronto Raptors. And Michael Grange, even though he's a chicken littler and somebody who will write a hit piece or some sort of bullshit, he is actually a good breaking news person. Now, Blake Murphy's diversified, and he's not totally covering just the Raptors solely. He goes so heavy on the Blue Jays in the summer, but he's the best person to cover the Raptors 905. Blake Murphy, in some ways, is the only guy that will give you information on Raptors 905 sometimes. So he's very useful too. But yeah, look, you don't have to believe Grange, but if Grange comes out with a tweet that he's saying the Raptors have reported this, believe it, because he's usually pretty accurate. There were times where I was kind of pissed off at Grange. I'm like, I don't want to believe him or listen to him. But to be honest, he is actually a good reporter as far as just reporting the facts. The problem is when he does opinion pieces and he starts writing articles about what he thinks is going to happen and shit like that. That's the problem right there. Yeah. Let's see. Smith saying, sure, I'm not arguing the numbers, but his track record is horrible. Well, in what sense? In what sense? Michael Grange, what first of all, what we got to do is when we look at any tweets from anybody, we got to look, is this speculation and a rumor, or is this actually news reporting? That's the critical thinking we have to use. And a lot of these guys down south, Jake Fisher, Mark Stein, and other people like that, they're not usually reporting the news about the Raptors. They're speculating. They're making up shit. They may have heard something through the grapevine from NBA sources that makes them think that they could say this, but who knows who their source is? It probably isn't even a Raptors person. It could be that they're talking to a Nets person or a Sixers person or something like that. And they're getting their news from them. Oh, yeah, the Raptors called us about this player. And then Jake Fisher's just putting out the bullshit speculation that way. Because, see, he's not on site here in Canada. That's the whole thing I tell Raptors fans. Don't listen to any press person, especially US media, that does not actually come to the gym for practice interviews and hold the microphone in the face of Darko and the players. Don't listen to anybody down south because they're not there. They're not in touch with things on the ground floor. That's the difference right there. That's the difference right there. So yeah, I mean, you guys, if I don't like Grange either, but I do take his news breaking for like truth because he has access and he is there. He is there. That's right. Yeah. Fiercely saying best of luck to AJ. Yeah, it's a logical progression for his career. In some ways, he understands that his NBA career is kind of getting to a point where it's not getting traction anymore. And now it's time to cash out and go play for glory over in Europe. And that team, Baskonia, is a very top team in its league. So AJ should do very well. He'd probably make a lot of money. And it could very well be part of the reason why he's going there is because of Eugene. Eugene and him are real tight as Canadians, guys who just were on the fringe of the NBA, got some good NBA time, but not really full careers. But Omaroi could easily tell AJ Lawson, yo, Baskonia's lit, man. You need to go over there. And AJ's like, all right, I'll go check it out. So, it's cool. It's cool. In some ways, it's not AJ going to CBL is not the right move because the money's not there. The money's in Europe. So he's got to go and play in these peak years of his career, getting the big contracts over from a European team that would love to have a player like him, a guy who's been in the playoffs, a guy who's played in the NBA Finals for the Mavs, a guy who's Lambeau Lawson, and he's very entertaining to watch. So I'll be sad because we won't see AJ Lawson on 905 this year, at least, or the Raptors. So it is what it is. Stargate saying Kawhi trade looking like it will go through. Hopefully we will hear something next week. Yeah. There was a little bit of fear mongering about the arbitration and the appeals process. And once again, I'll say this to Raptors fans. They've finished the investigation. They're going through our arbitration part, which is basically figuring out what the punishment is going to be. And then they got to present it to Ballmer and the Clippers. And then they have the chance to appeal. But once again, I'll tell everybody, this court system is not the regular U.S. courts that are slow because they have like dates and they put delays and all this stuff. No, this is Adam Silver's court, and he decides the schedule. And if he wants to do all this stuff right in a row this week, he doesn't have to wait for judges and courts and everything in the U.S. system to be opened up and be on the docket. No, he can do all this as soon as he wants to. And if he really wants to, he could put together a punishment package for Steve Ballmer with an add-on into it saying you can't appeal this if you take this lesser punishment. So he can expedite the Kawhi trade to happen in a couple different ways because he's in control of the arbitration and the appeal system. It's not the U.S. judges saying this is when we'll reconvene. We'll be back on September the 5th to look at this in the court. No, that's why court system is so slowed down because there's push-offs, delays. They have to set court dates and people have to wait. No, this is not in the U.S. court. This is in the NBA court. And Adam Silver makes the schedule. So don't believe that this may take a long, long time because of these extra steps that are coming up. And it could very well be they skip the whole appeals process and say it's not happening. You don't get an appeal, Steve Ballmer. You're guilty, dead to rights. That's right. That's right. It is probably going to go through, and we will see Kawhi on our team very soon. And that is the big needle pusher for our team for this year to get us to another level right there. Trevor's saying this, but they're going to be more surprised because I'm going to buy the 4 kids clothing too. Okay, Trevor. Well, that's great. You should do that, man. You should do that. Stargate saying exactly, Lex. Too many Raps fans listen too much to the U.S. basketball media reports when it comes to the Raptors, knowing that 90% of the time is going to be inaccurate. Yeah, there's a certain section of Raptors fans that really tout Jake Fisher as the most reliable person about the NBA in every way. I say horse shit. Absolute horse shit. Jake Fisher was toxic in the whole Durant Barnes thing a few summers ago. He's absolutely not a friend to us. And in some ways, his reporting can be destructive and toxic to Raptors stuff. So don't listen to Jake Fisher and all the Raptors fans out there that tout him as the best reliable NBA source. You're idiots. He's absolutely not. This man is a Brooklyn Nets fan on the down low, and he has no reason to do us any favors. So why would you take information from your enemy? Because Jake Fisher don't want good things for the Raptors. And when he reports, he's thinking that way when he reports it, just so you know. That's right. Fiercely saying, are there success stories of the NBA players who went to Europe then came back to the NBA? Very few. You know, the first one that pops into my mind is Kem Birch. You know, Kem Birch was drafted into the NBA, but he didn't stick in his early years. So he went overseas and played in Europe for a few years and then came back to the NBA. And that's when he played for us here in Toronto. So Kem Birch is one of these kind of players that actually went over and came back. Stargate's brought up PJ Tucker. I mean, there's been different players that have done this just because they need the extra seasoning and they want a lot more reps and more of a spotlight to get better. And those leagues are competitive. And then they do it and they come back and they are a better player when they come back. So there are some cases for this for sure. There are some cases for this. Let's see. What are we doing today? All right, let's do straight goods on Canadian goods. You know, often I do food products for straight goods on Canadian goods, but today I want to talk about Crave. Crave streaming service is the Canadian streaming service. And you know, we want entertainment. You want to watch stuff online streaming like Netflix. Well, Netflix is American. And honestly, Netflix's product has gone downhill ever since they quit sending DVDs in the mail. And, you know, the streaming service for Netflix, their catalog gets worse and worse, and their prices go up and up. Well, we could support Canada by buying Bell's Crave TV. Crave TV is a streaming service that's Canadian solely. And in fact, there's really good Canadian programming. In fact, one of my favorite shows on Crave is Tom Green's show. Tom Green, the great comedian from Ottawa, has been making a lot of content for Crave recently. He has a farm outside of Ottawa that he's been living on, and he has a mule and a horse, and he built a skateboard ramp, and he had Tony Hawk come out there and skateboard on it recently. He's having all kinds of great guests, a lot of great Canadian guests, including people like people from the Tragically Hip, George Strombolopoulos, Dead Mouse. He's had a lot of really cool guests out to his farm recently, and you can see all this stuff on Crave TV. You can stream it. So check out Canada's streaming service, Crave TV. It's actually a really great service, and you can find a lot of great entertainment on there. And once again, you're supporting Canadian industry through telecom by getting Crave instead of Netflix. So yeah, you want to support Canada, get Crave TV. And Bell will be very happy with you also, Bell Media. But yeah, Tom Green's on there, and his show's really good, man. He's been having really good interviews with these people. Like he had the girl from Heartland on, the blonde girl who was on that show with the horses. He's had a lot of interesting, very interesting guests on the show. I think he had Dan Aykroyd on it too from Ghostbusters. So he's had a lot of really, really top-notch guests out to the farm and interviewing them and talking to them about their lives and catching up with them. So yeah, it's not exactly the old Tom Green show where he might drag a deer carcass out into the middle of the room. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Trevor's saying, yes, Fiercey. I saw this lady with her kids putting back stuff that the kids wanted, so I tell them to meet me today. There you go. Trevor's being a good Samaritan. He's strengthening the community. That's right. Stargate saying bringing DeMar back here now would be redundant. We just go slow-mo with who is RJ's backup off the bench. Yeah. Yeah. The position that you guys are talking about, you're saying we don't have vet presence. But it is kind of a weird situation where the Raptors are switching from one era of leadership to a new era of leadership. And in some ways, the switch from Kyle to Scotty was very profound. Kyle Lowry left our team to go to Miami, and that year we drafted Scotty. And in some ways, those two eras kind of end in each other. Lowry era, Barnes era. And well, Temple era. We had the Temple era for 3 years where Temple was Unk, the vet, the guy in the locker room with the young guys to teach them. But this is the thing. We got to look at it this way. Scotty's ready. Scotty's ready. In some ways, it's no joke that Scotty, once Chris Boucher left the team, is the longest standing Raptor. That's by design. Because in some ways, we want to make the team Scotty's. And he feels it more when he's the absolute number one captain and leader, right? G Temp's there as an elder statesman, kind of watching out. Now he's gone. So Scotty's graduating to being that guy now. Think about it seriously. And he has good backup for this. You know, Kawhi's going to be a leader, but on the court and silently. And he can be a know-how guy. In fact, Kawhi's been known to be vocal when people aren't doing their jobs correctly. I don't think people know that enough. There's been stories about Kawhi that I've heard recently where Kawhi Leonard will set people straight for having a certain level of excellence. And well, Kyle Anderson is somebody who will not mince words either. We saw some of the stuff that happened with the Timberwolves in recent years with him arguing with teammates because he really cared about playing right. And he had a problem with the way Rudy Gobert was carrying himself. So Kyle Anderson can be quality control and somewhat of a tough vet who will be very vocal in telling people what to do. We can't forget that Yak is still up there with age, and he is a respected vet of 10 years in this league. And he has a lot of experience to impart. He may be a different kind of leader and maybe not in your face, but he is a leader on this team as an older player on this team. And, you know, we've got to give more credit to the younger players on our team, like Scotty, that are true leaders naturally already, like Shed, RJ, and Emmanuel. So the leadership on our team is not lacking. Is not lacking. We've got the right guys. In some ways, people say, oh, Garrett's gone. What are we going to do? No, we're fine. It's like Garrett was good, and he really did help us the last 3 years in a lot of different ways. But he has to move on to the next phase of his life as an assistant coach for the Dallas Mavericks. And, well, we're going to have to figure out that leadership void for him leaving. And, well, we've got enough candidates that will be able to jump in there. Number one will be Barnes. You're probably going to get a lot of leadership from Kawhi and Kyle. And then you'll get some leadership from Shed and Emmanuel and those guys too, of course. So I'm not worried about this. I'm not worried about this in the least, you know. And once again, I say one of the biggest reasons I don't want DeMar on this team because I don't want to fuck with RJ. Seriously, because they play the same position. And we don't want to do that. James is saying, is Koloko still a free agent? Wouldn't mind him as a backup center. That's an interesting idea. That may be somebody who's actually possible to reclaim and get back here. Although I would prefer to get his Cameroonian buddy, the other guy, the Prince, Ulrich Shomshe, because I feel like he has way more potential and more possibility for being even better than Koloko. So if we are going to reclaim one of our Cameroonian centers that were taken from us by the Fitness to Play panel, I pick Ulrich as a priority instead of Koloko. But if Koloko's that guy, I would do that. That's right. That's right. Trevor's saying the NBA is running very, very scary of the Raptors. Well, I don't know. This news this past week of Philadelphia, you know, Giannis to Miami, there's a lot of kind of scary moves for the whole league. But yeah, Kawhi back to Toronto is scary. But in some ways, it's actually good. The LeBron James last decision to Philly and also Giannis to Miami, because they'll overshadow the Kawhi thing. And in some ways, we don't necessarily want to be in the front and center with the target on ourselves, thinking, oh, this is the team to beat with Kawhi in Toronto. No, we want to maybe be under the radar a little bit. And LeBron going to Philadelphia helps with that. And so does Giannis going to Miami. So, hey, shh, don't talk to anybody. They don't need to know that they should be scared. Let's stay underwater like the sub, and we'll scare them when we get to the game with them. How about that? Yeah. Stargate saying, what was the point of signing Slow-Mo if they were planning on bringing DeMar back? Yeah. Yeah. I make this exactly. I mean, DeMar's a much better player than Kyle Anderson. DeMar is got way more in the tank to offer than Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson's exactly what he should be for our team in the spot he's in. DeMar DeRozan does not have a spot in the starting lineup on the Raptors. DeMar DeRozan probably doesn't even have a spot in the top 8 on the Raptors because we have people we want to play that are young off the bench. The other person that would be hurt by DeRozan coming to our team is Walter, y'all. You're not thinking about Jacoby. Jacoby Walter, think about how much DeMar would impact what he's trying to do. Seriously, it's just not a good idea. I've given you guys so many good reasons why DeMar DeRozan back to the Raptors is not a good idea. Just think about the impact on Walter and what possibly we just got Dick out of here so that Walter can have a clear spot and not have to worry about any of this and that. You bring DeMar DeRozan in, well, you might hurt Jacoby Walter in his progress, is what I would say to that. That makes sense what I just said. You're going to hurt Barrett and Walter if you bring DeMar here. All right, let's do real quick. I'm going to check in my HD real quick, guys. It is the gate of influence line. Gate 31 is a leader line, which is all about leadership. And leadership, gate 31 is designed to be influential. Collective leadership is collegial, not hierarchical. It provides the vision for a new direction and shows others how to achieve it rather than doing it for themselves. The 31st gate manifests its potential for verbal influence through election. When money is the energy used to move a person into a position of power instead of cooperative will of the people, the collective's overall ability to ensure humanity's future is easily perverted. So this is basically saying this is the whole idea of buying elections and paying for who the leaders should be is really bad for our future, because the people should be making the decisions about what our future is. And we should have leaders that reflect that. So when big moneyed interests put the leadership in charge, it's not going to be good for the people, is basically what the energy of this gate is saying right now. That's right. Our voice through the very first gate, I lead, is not heard until backed by the energy of the majority. The people are the ones who must act on what our voice says. So yeah, today is line 2, and the word for today is arrogance. Yeah, and it's about the arrogance of leaders who do not follow the will of the people and follow moneyed interests instead. This is something where they could get in a lot of trouble in the near future because the people have the power. Don't ever forget that. Money is just a made-up system, but when everybody decides how they want to act and when they want to act and what they're going to do, they're more powerful than the moneyed interests, guys. We need to always remember that. They may try and make us think that's not true, but it is true. And if all of us are on the same page, we have all the power in the world. So yeah, there's your check-in with human design this morning. It's gate 31, line 2, arrogance. Arrogance is the word for today. And that's a word for our leaders. When they feel like they don't have to lead us and represent us correctly, instead represent the people that are giving them money to get elected. Yeah, that arrogance will bite them in the ass eventually. Trust me. Happy birthday to Lucas Nogueira. That's right. Lucas Nogueira was a Raptor and only a Raptor in his NBA career. He played 4 seasons for the Toronto Raptors from 2014 to 2018, 141 games that he started 10 of, and he averaged about 3 points per game and 3 rebounds per game. He did appear in the playoffs for us in 13 games. So yeah, Lucas Nogueira, happy birthday. He is, as of today, 34 years old. The last place that Lucas played, according to his Wikipedia, was for the Calgary Surge in the CBL. He also played for the defunct Guelph Nighthawks, who changed teams. They moved to another city. I think that's the team that became Winnipeg. They moved Guelph Nighthawks from Guelph to Winnipeg to become the Sea Bears. So yeah, but his last team he played for was the Surge in Calgary in 2022. So happy birthday to Bebe Nogueira. Yeah, a Brazilian Raptor who's 34 years old today. That's our birthday of the day. You guys remember Bebe. Bebe, 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 Bebe. Yeah, let's see what else you guys are saying. Trevor's saying they know it's a lot of whooping coming, so all those teams want to build walls. Stargate's saying the U.S. basketball media will ignore the Raptors as a viable contender in the East, keeping them under the radar to the average NBA fan. But the teams themselves will be very aware of how dangerous the Raptors would be with Kawhi. Yeah. Yeah, and we're aware of it too ourselves. Colin, Jacoby, Scotty, we're aware. We're aware of it. We're going to be very dangerous. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is an uptick, and it really mainly is like the closer, amazing, unstoppable scorer that Kawhi is, along with his two-way presence, as far as adding on to the defensive stuff that he can do with our already amazing defensive players. It's just going to be a real needle pusher. And the whole thing is contingent on health, though. We need our guys to be mostly healthy, all of them, all the starters and everybody to be the absolute best version of the Raptors and excel and achieve at the highest level that we can. So yeah, health is a huge key for us. Very much a huge key for us. All right, let me see. Is there any breaking news real quick this morning? Not anything basketball wise. All right, let's go ahead and I guess we'll do the classic card of the day. Yeah. All right, let's see. We got like maybe 4 cards in here left. We're running out, but that's fine. I'll go right through this box and then I'll get some more. Let's see. Oh yeah, we'll do this card. Okay. All right, this card is from up above, so be ready from a different angle. Full name answer, please, for the classic card. You know the rules. That's right. I'm hoping the light will not shine on it too crazy. This one's kind of easy. We've had this player a few times as a classic card. Unfortunately, this guy passed away, so we have to say rest in power to this player. But yeah, check out this player. Who do you think that is? Give me a guess, and I'll give you a clue. So who is that in the card today? Can you tell the team he's on from the jersey? Can you tell? It's maybe a little tough from that angle. And maybe it may be a little tough to figure out who he is just from looking down from the top. So yeah, full name answer. Give me the full name answer. You get the classic card trivia points. And it's very close. Like I said, Stargate is kind of like threatening to take the lead from Slugged Easy right now. In fact, I think if he gets this card, he might be tied with them. So really rack your brain here, Stargate. If you're here, Slugged Easy, if you're here, they're nipping at your heels. Fiercey, you're also involved at the top for the classic card in the trivia standings. Okay, Fiercey's got, oh, she's going to get Seagold. Yeah, that is his first name. And Slugged Easy is here to stay on top. There you go. Jerome Kersey, of course. Jerome Kersey of the Portland Trailblazers. Fiercey remembered him, but not enough to get the last name. So she got Seagold. Seagold, Slugged Easy, coming back to be the king of the classic card and getting this one today. You know what? I've been giving 150 for this kind of card the last couple days. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I'm going to give you 150 for this one, Slug. And it should put you right there. You're in the lead still, so you're just building to your lead a bit. Slugged Easy 150, and I'll actually go and like add it right now so that we can I can actually real time give you the actual stats of who's in the lead and what the scores are. Okay, 150 for Slugged Easy, and he was already in the lead, so he's adding to his total. I think he's at 1950. 1950 is your score now, and Stargate is 1650. So you got a 300-point lead. 300-point lead. If Stargate had gotten that one, he would have tied you and been tied at the lead. So Slugged Easy 1950, Stargate 1650, Fiercey 1600. Those are the top 3 right there. Yeah, Slug got it. Yeah, he got it. He got it. Yep. Good job. Good job. All right, wrapping it up, just over 2 hours. The WNBA All Star Game impressed me. I was actually really happy with the product. I found it very entertaining. I was not bored with it. I felt like it was a really good showcase for Marina Mabrey to come out and be the first Tempo All Star. She did a fantastic job representing us. She was in the running for MVP conversation for a while there. Fantastic first half. Too bad it didn't carry over to the second half. But you know what? That's a very successful all-star debut, no matter what. Because look, some people play their first all-star game and they barely play any minutes and they don't score at all. Marina got 23 points. So that's a huge success. So a great job overall the whole weekend, even at the three-point shootout, even though she didn't do so well in the three-point shootout, she represented Canada, Toronto Tempo very, very well. We're proud of you, Marina. Thank you for doing such a good job this weekend as the state's person for the Tempo, the representative for our team and our country. in Chicago this weekend. You did a fantastic job. And I really enjoyed the dunk by Malonga. I really enjoyed the shootout between Clark and Mabrey. And there was a lot of fun stuff going on at the weekend. And it was just a good job, WNBA. I'll give you some credit for that. There were maybe a little bit of snafus with maybe a graphics mess up or something dumb like that. But for the most part, the WNBA did a very good job professionally presenting their All-Star weekend this weekend. In fact, they did a better job this All-Star weekend than the NBA's done for the last 5 years. I would say that. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Stargate saying, I believe Jerome died of the same issue that Chris Bosh has. Chris just got treatment for it sooner, I believe. Don't quote me on that. All right, let's go fact check it. Seriously, we can do this. I'll go look at Jerome real quick on the Wikipedia, and we'll see what it says. You know, he died in 2015, so he's been gone for a while. So he's been gone for over 10 years. Okay, on February the 18th, 2015, Jerome Kersey died suddenly at the age of 52. The fire department and response team responded to a call from Kersey's home shortly after 5 p.m. He was taken to a medical center in Oregon where he died. Just days prior to his death, Kersey had underwent knee surgery. On the day of his death, he left the Trailblazers Rose Quarter office because he was not feeling well. The medical examiners linked his death to a blood clot that traveled to his lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism. So you're right. It was a blood clot that got to him after he had a knee surgery. Yeah. Well, we quoted you on it and we checked you. We fact checked you. And you were right. You were right. There you go, Stargate. What, you get a trivia point? In some ways, maybe I'll give you 50 points real quick just for that. So you're at 1,700. 1,700 just for coming in with the facts, and we verified the facts. So they're right. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me today. Tomorrow, I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do. It's going to be a Monday memory or a Monday moment where we'll celebrate something recently. Maybe I'll do a moment that's happened recently, or I'll go look at the date and see if there's anything from the history of the Raptors or something to celebrate. We'll have to see. Dunk for Stargate? Yeah, we can do that too. We'll give him a dunk too. All right, let's see. Where is that? Stargate, dunk. Stargate, you're at 75. 75 on the dunk charts with that dunk right there. 75. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go, Raptors. Let's go, Tempo. Let's go to CBL game and watch some great Canadian Elite Basketball League action. Let's go, Team Canada. Let's get that goal from USA and both women's and men's. That's right. We're coming for y'all, USA. We're coming for that gold medal with SGA and Dylan Brooks. We're coming for it. That's right. That's right. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. in the morning. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody. Sorry I'm feisty. Sorry I'm abrasive. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and join the channel. There you go. Let's go.